Hey, welcome to another great episode. We're in the studio with Get In The Flo, and today we have an amazing show. I am so excited, Doc. This is going to be incredible. We're with Daniel Smith from Texas Tuk Tuks, and today we're talking about Vespas Tuk Tuks and Texas size profits. Hallelujah! We're going to have a good time with this one. But Daniel is an art teacher, 19 years as an art teacher.
Wow.
So you can imagine what he's doing with little Vespas. You ever seen anything? Vroom, vroom?
Oh, I owned a motorcycle, but I've always wanted a Vespa. I could see myself on one eventually. So
They're so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Vespas are so cool. And I mean, now if we're lucky, we might be able to get Daniel to tell us all about the little scooter gangs that he's a part of.
Yes, I'm excited.
That's the best story. So we got to get into that. But Daniel, basically Daniel's gonna tell us all about how he's turned his hobby of working on Vespas and this love for Vespas into a side hustle, and he's turning it into a business.
Yes.
So
that was a big thing that we wanted to start off asking you, my friend, is what did that look like? How did you turn a hobby of getting into Vespas, now you're into Tuk Tuks, and how did you turn that into a legitimate cash flowing business? We know you're a little bit about your backstory. We think that everybody needs to know about that. And obviously that can be at another time, whether it's on your website or whatever, but it's an incredible story. But again, just piecing it into kind of that transition of hobby to actual cash flow.
All right. So yeah, just very fast. I got into Vespas because my grandmother was from Italy. And when I went there, I saw these Vespa scooters and I asked myself, why do we not have these in America? So I started finding them early on, right out of high school. I was in college and I found the Vespas and started getting into it. So what really was the key factor for me where I realized I could make money on this was I bought a Vespa for $1,000 and I got it running. And a year later, I sold that same Vespa for $2,000. That opened up my eyes. I was like, man, I doubled my money. I can make money doing this. Wow. And it's something that I love. So then I just started buying Vespas and I would fix them a little bit, fix them up and then sell them. And then every once in a while I would keep one, I had to have one to drive. And then someone would come up and say, oh man, I love Vespas. I want one. Can I buy it? I'm like, yeah, I'll sell it to you. And I'd make a profit. I'd buy another one. Then I got my granddad into it. I told my granddad, man, I'm making real money flipping Vespas. He said, okay, I'll front you some money. So for many years, I would use my granddad's money. I'd buy a bike and I would sell it. And whatever the profit was, me and my granddad would split that profit. So I did that for about 20 years. Well, then I knew about Tuk Tuks. And in Italy, they're called an ape. And I always wanted one, but I didn't have enough money to get one. Well, one day out of the blue, I owned a Vespa that this guy used to own and he wanted it back. And he said, I will trade you my Tuk Tuk for that Vespa because I want it back. And I was like, I couldn't do it fast enough because I knew that those Tuk Tuks were worth, a lot of money. And he had bought it and him and his wife divorced and he let it set up for a long time. So that was the first time I got into one of the Tuk Tuks.
Nice.
And I immediately wanted to turn it into a rental business because I knew that people like from India that have India weddings would want to rent it for their weddings. So I immediately started that idea of trying to start this Texas Tuk Tuk business. And then sure enough, it did. I was able to rent it. Then I found another one. As soon as I found it, a friend of mine was like, I want it. When I went to go pick up that second ape, I couldn't leave the property. I already had it sold to a friend of mine. And then me and him kind of started renting, these apes and Tuk Tuks. And then fast forward to now, there was one man in America that was importing them, meaning he was buying them in Italy and shipping them here. One guy was doing it for all of America. I said, okay, well, let me figure out how to do it. And I stumbled across this man on Facebook in Italy and we started doing business. And now I've done 4 loads. I've imported over 25 apes, meaning I buy them in Italy, ship them here, and then resell them to people starting companies and businesses.
So this is an international love story that started with grandma.
Yeah, in World War II.
How cool was that?
Yeah.
How cool was that?
My granddad was stationed in North Africa and in Italy.
So
he met my grandmother in Italy.
So we've got love, we've got war. It's an international story. We got a boat. This is like this is shaping up to be pretty good.
It's dynamic, and that is, I think, what we're really loving getting to our listeners is saying, okay, there is a asset, if you will, of you had this love for Vespas, you had to build on it, you had to grow on it, you had to learn a lot about it. And it took some time, obviously, but
20 years.
Because of that passion and that fire, you were able to continue that. And then you are now learning that you can turn it into profits and really make a life of it. I mean, this is incredible. And I love this in all essences of it. So yes.
So if you're looking at like today, are you primarily just selling the tuk tuks, or you're running the rental business, or you're still doing a combination of both?
It's a combination of both. Obviously, we make more money selling them than we do
Sure.
the rental, but the rental
Sure.
is kind of the fun side, and it is such a small radical niche thing. And we service the Dallas Fort Worth Metroplex, and there's only going to be so many number of India weddings in Dallas that we can rent to, right? But just like next month, we have 4 rentals. So that's pretty good. I mean, if I could rent every weekend, I would be pretty happy with that, even if I never sold another one, because
Right.
again, it's not paying our bills. This is just a thing we're doing for fun on the side. So getting to go to all these weddings and see all of this and see these people and make their day special.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
Wow, I know, that is amazing. And you have the possibility to do that. I mean, if you really, it sounds like, and maybe we can get into a little bit of that, of seeing maybe why you didn't take this and why you're not looking to take this to the moon. It's a very special thing in your business model right now, of it being fun, of you impacting people's lives. Weddings, one of the most spectacular things in someone's life in general, and having an impact in that. Did you ever think of scaling it, or are you guys considering doing that? What does that look like?
Yeah, I think it could be scaled. It's still further down the road.
Okay.
I only know of one other man in America that rents. Well, let me take that back. 2. I know 2 other people that rent tuk tuk to weddings. So there's a guy in Houston, Texas. There's me in Dallas, and there's a guy in Boston. And the guy in Boston also services New York. So he has tuk tuks in New York, and he has tuk tuks in Boston. And he'll fly out there just to do a wedding. And then, but he lives in Boston. That's the only 3 people I know that actually do that. That will rent a specific tuk tuk to a wedding. So to answer your question, yeah, it could be. You could set up in lots of different markets. You would have to look at where the hot spots are in America for India weddings, and set up there. Definitely, it could be. That's the rental side. Now, obviously, the sell side, those customers are anywhere from Florida to New York to California. And when I sell one, and also Texas, I've sold quite a few to companies in Texas. And again, I make more when I sell them. So that's the part of the business that I'm trying to expand, because the rental thing, it just kind of chugs along, but the real money is in the sales.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's been. So this is it's kind of an interesting thing. Now, if you guys, if anybody watching doesn't know what a tuk tuk is, because I didn't know. I mean, when we met Daniel in Kansas City, right?
It's a great point. It's a great point.
Daniel tells this great story one night around the pool table about these tuk tuks, and nobody has any idea what the heck a tuk tuk is. So after the story, we're all looking at pictures. What's a tuk tuk?
Yes.
And so look it up. It's TUK. And of course, Daniel's business is Texas Tuk Tuks.
That's the way to go and look it up. First.
We'll actually have a link set up in the down below. You're going to be able to go to his Facebook page and see pictures and stuff. There's some cool stuff. But you guys have a very unique community that is developed around Vespas and around these tuk tuks and things like that. Can you talk a little bit about the community?
Yeah. So back when I was when I got into Vespas, there are actually clubs and groups, and sometimes gangs. We call them scooter gangs or moped gangs. And it's all friends that I've met over the 20 years. It's a very small, tight network of people in America, because Vespas are so rare. You start to meet everybody in the community, and we'll do things that what we call scooter rallies. So here in Waxahachie, where I live, me and my wife, we hosted a scooter rally for 10 years. We would do it every once a year. About 100 people would come. We would all camp out. We would go on scooter rides. We did stunts and little like obstacle courses, and we would have a raffle. I would raffle off a very nice Vespa every year. About a $3,000 Vespa. I would sell raffle tickets, and that profit would help run a better rally the next year. So all these different gangs would show up, we hang out, we go ride. And it's amazing to see people when you roll through a town with 100 scooters. If you've never seen one Vespa, and then on any given day you see 100 coming through your downtown, like people stop in the street and their jaw drops because they've never seen that many scooters. And a lot of times, these dudes are rough, man. Like, there's tattoos. We're all kind of ratty looking. Lots of times the Vespas look like they're about to fall apart, because they're old 50s and 60s. They're a rattle can and they're real loud. So people think of a scooter and they think it's slow. There's actually a lot you can do to a Vespa to make it fast. Like, I got friends that can roll 80 to 90 miles an hour on a Vespa.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, you can hop them up. You can put race parts on them because they're two-stroke. So you put a bigger piston, bigger carburetor, bigger muffler, and we race them. And then we set up like jumps and, like in that, what was that movie you said, we're going to go hit some sweet jumps.
Yeah.
Like, we jump them on ramps and we camp out, it's fun. And then other cities host them. Like, I love going to the ones in New Orleans. New Orleans is a great city to go run scooters. And we've done it on Halloween night before, going through Bourbon Street, 100 scooters, everybody dressed up. It's wild.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah,
Oh, that's cool.
It's
You
fun.
get all the music playing, all that jazz going.
Yeah. And so this summer we're going to Arizona for the big AmeriVespa. It's a big Vespa company that runs, it's the National Vespa Scooter Club. And so everybody goes to the big one every year. And this one, we're going to ride out to the Grand Canyon on Vespas.
Really?
Holy
Yeah.
cow.
So is the event in Flagstaff, or where?
Yeah, Flagstaff.
And then you're running up to, okay.
Yep. And you run up to the edge of, I guess the south rim of the Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
Yep. And
All right. Yeah, it's not far.
Yeah. So when you go to these rallies, you have a mix of people riding new scooters all the way to people riding vintage bikes, and they do different rides depending on what type of bike you're on, because they make scooters up to like a 500cc, but the vintage bikes, they may only do 40, 50 miles an hour. They can't stay up with the modern bikes. So they split you up into groups, because at a rally like that, there'll be 500 people at that rally.
Wow. That's awesome.
We have to get out to that. We have to get out to that. That's huge. And that's an excitement that you've helped build in us. And I think that is a huge thing that we want to bring to everybody that's watching this is that excitement. This is something that a lot of people have no idea about. And it's so cool to see that there's this group, this gang of people doing this. The gang. I love that.
Yeah.
This isn't some Harley gang. This is a scooter Vespa gang, and it's so fascinating. It's so fun. One thing I want to ask though is, what if that, I guess, it sounded like maybe it was a little bit of that awakening of like, wow, I just made double what I had made in my first Vespa sale. Is that kind of the initial step that got you from a view of an idea to actually wanting to do it? Because I think there's a lot of people that are going to be listening, or that we have our audience with, that we want to get them they're just a little scooch of into saying yes to an idea and moving forward with it. What did that look like for you?
Yeah, so basically, whatever your passion is, your hobby, whatever you're into, if you've ever thought about or noticed that other people are making money doing it, or you can make money doing it, just, try it out a little at a time and be patient with the process. Like I said, I flipped Vespas for 20 years. I would buy and sell, and I did that for 20 years. And that 20 years of learning a lot also gave me kind of a chunk of money to start buying those Apes in Italy, right?
Okay.
I never would have had a chunk of money, but from 20 years of being very smart and knowing the market, right? So I would watch Vespas every day. So that's my hobby. I would just do it because I liked it. I would go on. Back then it was Craigslist. Y'all remember Craigslist?
Right.
Yeah.
Right? Before Facebook Marketplace, I would go on Craigslist every day and look at what people were selling Vespas for, what they're asking. And it's funny how you watch this ebb and flow. Certain bikes would go up and down on what they're worth and what people are asking and what they actually sell for. So knowing the market, right? And that was my passion, was a Vespa. So I would search Vespas every day and and learn, what's a street value. So if you see some guy asking like $3,000 for a bike that's really only worth $1,000, he's off in the market. Like, no, nobody's going to buy that for $3,000. But then what I watch for is the bike where somebody's asking like $800 because it doesn't run.
Right.
And I'm taking that risk. Okay, I can probably get it running for, maybe $100 or $200. I got 1,000 in it, and I can sell it for 2,000. That was the bike I was looking for. And also good at negotiating. Whatever somebody's asking doesn't really mean that's what they're going to sell it for. So if I see a guy asking, say, $1,500, I would just hit them up and say, will you take 1,000? And if they said yes, great, then I'd relist it for 15 on another platform and make the 500 profit that I talked them down on. And again, I did that for many years. So it's negotiation and, you know, and knowing what you're looking at. Because there are some pitfalls. There are some bad bikes out there that came from Vietnam that were really death traps. They were bad. Wow. And people get burned on those. And so in the community of Vespas, you know, if you put a bad bike out there, people will immediately call it out. That is a trash Vietnam bike. You don't want that bike. So you have to be careful what you're buying, and you have to know, you know, you can't just walk into it. You're going to end up buying something that's not worth any money.
Sure.
Yeah.
Now, I hope I answered your question.
Yes, absolutely.
So as we're kind of coming into our last few minutes, I want to hit you with this question. You're a teacher, and you've spent the last 19, 20 years inspiring kids, right? And I think you mentioned previously offline that you love working with kids to find their passion and to turn their hobby into something that they can actually make money with. So if you're working with kids, you're working with young people, what's the biggest recommendation that you could give somebody when they have an idea or they've got their passion? How do they turn their hobby into something that's making them money?
Here's a good suggestion. Find somebody that is already doing that and ask them how they did it. Right? How, you know, like if I mentioned this before, like high school kids, they're really into shoes, right? Air Force Ones or whatever they are. And people, there's a big market for that. People resell vintage shoes all the time on eBay and online. And I mean, it's crazy to me. I don't care about basketball shoes, but a lot of people do. And a lot of people, that's a collectible thing. It's a niche, right? Or let's say vintage arcade games. So if you want to try to get into that and you're selling video games or tennis shoes or whatever, try to find out who's already doing it and look at what they're doing and copy what they're doing, or just flat out ask them, how did you start doing this? Right.
Yeah, that's a huge breakthrough that I found because I'm young into this, and seeing that there's so much room for people, for multiple ideas to do this. I mean, you could set up down the street sometimes from someone doing the exact same thing. And if you're doing it right, you both can succeed in this. And so I love what you're saying. I mean, it's something that's might be already being done, but it's just going out, asking, seeing where you can kind of provide value in the market itself.
Right. Or if you're scared to ask them, just stalk what they're doing. I've been reading this in a lot of marketing books. Just copy what they're doing. Find a company that is doing what you're doing. And if it looks successful, it looks nice, they seem to have traction, just flat out copy what they're doing. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. And just like I teach art, we say that all the time. Artists steal from other artists all the time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Success leaves clues.
Yeah.
No,
that's good. That's good. I love that.
No, that's fantastic. Okay. One last thing. Are you a reader? Do you like to read?
Not really.
Okay, so I'm not going to ask that question. We're just going to blow right on past that one.
Well, no, I'm sure. I think that what is something that you said you kind of analyze the markets, and I think that's a big thing. Maybe it's somewhat similar to kind of like, we were going to probably ask you what book you're doing or you're reading right now, or what's your most influential book, or what is the most influential thing that skyrocketed you into this different idea?
Hold on. Hey, where'd that book go, Leah? That was sitting right here. We actually bought some marketing books because I've had more than one person tell me that my marketing sucks. Okay. Oh, no. That I'm not good at marketing. So me and my wife got on and started buying a bunch of marketing books, and we're reading that. I bought this workbook, but also let me tell you this. Before I was a teacher, I was an outside sales rep. It was 100% cold calling sales. And my sales manager took us to go see a guy named Zig Ziglar. You ever heard of him?
Yep.
Zig Ziglar. He's old school sales, right? Yep. And we went and I listened to him talk at a huge concert arena. And I learned some things from him. And one of the things that Zig Ziglar said was, make it easy for people to do business with you, right? Be, not necessarily that you're being the yes man, but if people are already reluctant to do business, and as soon as you have something that trips them up, that's the excuse for them to get out. So you have to make it easy. They have to find you easy. You have to be easy to talk to. You have to be easy to work with. So whatever they ask, you try to do it within reason. You're not gonna, go way off really trying to, do something you can't do. But if you can do it and make it easy for that customer, you will have customers. And I learned that from Zig Ziglar, and I learned that 25 years ago.
Nice.
Make it
Wow.
easy for the customer to do business with you. That was the biggest thing that I learned from Zig Ziglar. But there are books out there now that you can buy. Yeah, we've been buying these on Amazon. Here's Zig Ziglar, Selling 101, right?
Yes.
It's just all these common sense steps that Zig Ziglar talked about. And that's old school selling from like the 1970s and 80s, right?
Right.
That's like the story he tells. You walk into a house and you see a guy working on the light fixture. Don't assume that that guy is just an electrician. He could be the owner of the house. So you treat everybody as a potential customer, right? So that's Zig Ziglar. And then here's the other book that we just got, Social Media Workbook. Look at this thing. Look how thick it is. That's a thick book. And it breaks down every platform, social media, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. I'm doing the Facebook chapter because that's what I was wanting to get into. So anyway, just social media workbooks.
Yeah, we're gonna throw that.
I'll read when I have to.
No, what's great about this is that you're an expert at Vespas, and I think the big shift. I think Doc had asked about the being able to scale the business. We become, a lot of times we end up getting into business on something that we love, we're really good at it, but there's other aspects of the business that we're not so good at that we have to learn how to do, even though it's not something we're passionate about. So I appreciate you even sharing that, because it's a big deal. But we're about out of time. Man, this has been a fantastic time. Daniel, we appreciate you coming on the show.
Absolutely. This
is
an absolute honor. Oh man, no, we get so fired up. I mean, we have a little bit more experience than our viewers. We got to see you like in the true self that you are. Describe your story. We were like listening like it was a movie. It was so good. So some way the viewers are gonna need to get at least a little bit more of the juiciness of that. But again, this is an honor to have you on. You are not only talking about Vespas, but you're talking about these incredible things that you've learned over the amount of time that Josh, that architect was starting to get into. It's like, this is something you're going to do. It's not just pure passion, but the passion, the fire is going to keep you going to the end. You're going to have to do things that aren't as fun as you thought they would be, but it's the passion of what you're doing that's going to keep you fired up to go take it to the world. So,
well, hopefully we can have you back and share some more of your story.
Thanks. Yeah, if you're doing what you love, it's not a job.
I love that.
Tell people how they can find you. We're gonna add the link down below. So just let them know how they can find you.
So you can find us on Facebook. It's just Texas Tuk Tuks, and we have a website that's texas-tuktuks.com. But if you Google Texas Tuk Tuks right now, you will find me. I have Facebook, Instagram, and a website. There's only one Texas Tuk Tuks.
Nice. Awesome. Well, guys, make sure you click on the link. You got to check these things out. They're just cool. They're really, really cool. Daniel and Lynn are amazing people. We absolutely love you guys, and we're so grateful that you were able to join us. Make sure you subscribe below. You're going to find this video on our pages. Daniel's going to have it up on his pages, so you'll be able to watch this video. And we're just share it out there. We really appreciate you. Thanks for being with us, Daniel.
Yeah.
And guys, get in the flow.
Thanks
for having me. Thanks.